All right, get this. Self-charging electric vehicles
Yeah.
might actually be a real thing, not just sci-fi.
Really?
Yeah, and the mind behind this potential revolution is Maxwell Chikumbutso, a high school dropout from Zimbabwe.
Okay, now that's a story I want to hear more about.
I know, right? It's like something out of a movie.
Yeah.
This inventor claims he's cracked the code of limitless energy
Wow.
with vehicles that draw power straight from the air.
So no more plugging in, no more range anxiety.
Exactly. If this is real, it's game over for gas stations, oil giants,
Yeah.
even battery manufacturers.
That's a bold claim, but I'm intrigued.
I know, right? So let's start with Chikumbutso himself.
Okay.
I mean, this guy's a real underdog, high school dropout, self-taught.
Yeah.
He even says his inspiration comes from divine forces. Classic David versus Goliath taking on the scientific establishment.
Definitely unconventional, but sometimes those are the ones that shake things up.
Totally. So at the heart of all this is what he calls microsonic energy.
Microsonic energy. Okay, I'm listening.
Yeah, basically he claims to convert radio waves into electricity.
Okay, now that's where it gets interesting, and let's be honest, a little murky.
Yeah.
The science hasn't really been independently verified, on a large scale.
Right.
So we're stepping into uncharted territory here.
I mean, for those of us who aren't electrical engineers, how does he actually say this thing works?
So the basic idea is he's capturing the energy in those radio waves,
Okay.
the ones that are, all around us,
Uh-huh.
and converting it into usable electricity like a radio receiver.
I see.
But instead of picking up sound signals, it's
Yeah.
harnessing the energy within those waves.
Okay, so kind of like solar panels, but for radio waves.
In a simplified way, yes.
Okay.
But here's the catch. Efficiency.
Right.
Radio waves, they carry way less energy than, say, sunlight.
I see.
To power something like a car, you'd need a crazy efficient system
Yep.
to capture and convert a massive amount of that radio wave energy.
And that's where the scientists get skeptical.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of experts haven't seen the evidence to support that level of efficiency.
Okay, fair enough. But even if the science is debated,
Yeah,
the ambition is pretty mind-blowing.
absolutely. And it's not just cars either.
Oh, right. It goes way beyond just self-powered EVs.
Yeah, he's claiming televisions that never need plugging in, a huge power generator
Wow.
that could run entire communities off the grid, even a self-sustaining racing motorbike.
Okay, the racing motorbike, I have to admit, that's cool.
It definitely captures the imagination,
Yeah.
though I'm not sure how practical a self-powered racing bike is compared to, say, an affordable electric car for everyday use.
Good point. But hey, it's a demo of what might be possible.
Yeah.
So let's talk about his most ambitious project, the one everyone's buzzing about, the Kai's Scythe.
Okay, his flagship product, the self-powered electric car developed with Chinese automaker Kai.
And this is where things get really, really bold.
Okay.
Unlimited range, top speed of 137 miles per hour.
Wow.
And it can even power your home.
It almost sounds too good to be true, right?
Right, so let's break it down.
Okay.
First, the unlimited range.
Hmm.
No more range anxiety, no more charging stations. If this is real,
Yeah.
it changes everything about how we think about EVs.
That's a big if, though. Unlimited range means a constant, readily available energy source.
Right.
And that goes against what we currently understand about physics and energy.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
So the unlimited range definitely warrants a healthy dose of skepticism.
Okay.
But the speed, 137 miles an hour, that's up there with some high-performance EVs on the market right now.
Yeah, it's true.
Makes you wonder, if this tech is real, why aren't the major car companies all over it?
Right, you'd think they'd be throwing money at it if it works as advertised.
Yeah.
And then there's the cost. Chikumbutso says the Kai's Scythe could be made for around $14,000.
Wow, if that's accurate, that's a game changer, especially for developing countries,
Yeah.
places where affordable transport is a major issue.
I mean, imagine whole communities with cars, but no need for gas or charging stations.
It's a huge potential shift.
Mind-boggling, but, and this is a big but,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of controversy surrounding Chikumbutso and his inventions.
And that controversy is important whenever there's a claim this disruptive,
Yeah.
especially one that challenges powerful industries. There's always pushback, skepticism, maybe even attempts to suppress it.
Yeah, we've seen it before with inventions that rocks the boat.
Exactly, like John Canzius and his radio wave cancer treatment,
Yeah.
or Stanley Meyer's water-powered car.
Both met with a ton of resistance, ultimately dismissed by mainstream science.
And those cases highlight a pattern. When an invention threatens big money.
Yeah.
Those industries fight back, sometimes funding counter-research, spreading misinformation, maybe even using their influence to, keep things quiet.
So are you thinking big energy might be trying to bury this tech to protect their profits?
It's definitely something to consider. And then there's the media silence.
Yeah, why isn't this all over the news?
If it's as revolutionary as it sounds,
Right.
why so quiet? Is it deliberate suppression or just, too good to be true?
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a real-life mystery unfolding. This inventor with potentially limitless energy, and the world's just eerily quiet.
It's more questions than answers, which is what makes this deep dive so interesting.
I know, right?
We're not just looking at technology. We're looking at a story full of intrigue, controversy, and the potential to reshape everything.
Exactly. We're on the trail of something big here, and it's up to us to sift through the evidence, the claims, the counter-arguments, to figure out what's really going on.
And that's where you, the listener, come in.
Right.
This isn't just about us presenting information. It's about encouraging you to think critically, question assumptions, and come to your own conclusions.
We're giving you the puzzle pieces.
Exactly.
But it's up to you to put them together and see the bigger picture.
It's what makes it so compelling. We're all part of this investigation, together trying to unravel this mystery.
The mystery of Maxwell Chikumbutso and his potentially world-changing inventions.
Exactly. Okay, so we've got the claims, the tech, the controversy.
Right.
Now, what about the impact?
Yeah.
Like, what if, and this is a big if, what if even some of what he says is true?
It's a huge what if.
Right. What would that mean for the world?
I mean, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
We're talking about changing how we think about energy completely.
A total paradigm shift, maybe even a world without energy scarcity.
Homes, communities, generating their own power, completely off the grid, no more fossil fuels.
Sounds pretty utopian, doesn't it?
It does, but we got to be realistic too, right?
Oh, absolutely.
There'd be challenges, even if the tech works.
Huge hurdles, yeah.
Like, what kind of hurdles are we talking?
Well, first, scaling it up.
Okay.
Can you actually mass produce this stuff affordably?
Right. So far, it's mostly prototypes.
Exactly. Going from a prototype to millions of units, that's a whole other ballgame.
It's not like building one TV in your garage.
No, not at all. And then there's the infrastructure.
Right.
Our whole energy system now is centralized.
Yeah.
Power plants, grids. If everyone's making their own power,
it'd have to change completely.
Massive overhaul. And then there's the ripple effects.
Right.
What happens to oil-producing countries?
It'd take a hit.
For sure. What about jobs in those industries?
Lots of people would be affected.
Big time. So it's not just about if it works.
It's way bigger than that.
It's about society, the economy, even global politics.
So we got to have these conversations now.
While it's early. Exactly.
Okay, so benefits, challenges. We've touched on those.
Yeah.
But back to the skepticism for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Is it healthy to question this, or is it just cynicism holding us back?
Skepticism is essential. It's how we think critically.
Oh, okay.
But there's a difference between that and just dismissing something outright.
So how do you tell the difference?
Healthy skepticism, you come in with a critical eye, you ask tough questions, you want proof.
You don't just say, impossible.
Nope, you say, show me the data.
Prove it to me.
Exactly. Rigorous testing, independent verification. That's how science moves forward.
And for Chikumbutso, that hasn't really happened yet, has it?
Not on a large scale, no.
So that's a big hurdle.
It is, if he wants the scientific community to take him seriously.
Okay, so what can we, just regular people, what can we do?
Stay informed, be curious.
Don't just take things at face value.
Exactly. Do your research, read different perspectives, talk to people who have different opinions.
Have those conversations.
And don't be afraid to ask questions if something doesn't add up.
Yeah.
If the proof is weak, if it sounds too good to be true, dig deeper.
So you get to the bottom of it.
That's how we get closer to the truth. And, if this is real, if he has figured out a new kind of energy.
What does it mean for climate change?
It could be a game changer. Imagine no more fossil fuels. Every house, every village, making their own clean power.
That gives me hope.
Hope is good, but we need action too.
Yeah.
Even if Chikumbutso's right, it takes all of us to make that shift.
So this isn't just his story, it's all of ours.
It's about the future we want to create.
And that's powerful, regardless of whether he ultimately succeeds.
The fact that we're having this conversation at all is a good sign.
Yeah.
It means we're not satisfied with the way things are.
Right.
We're willing to imagine something different.
So what happens next for him?
That's the question, isn't it?
He's been quiet lately.
He has, which just fuels the speculation.
Some say he's being pressured to stay silent.
Right. Others say he's just perfecting the tech, getting ready for a big reveal.
Whatever it is, he's clearly not giving up.
Definitely not. He's got a mission.
Yeah.
He believes he can change the world.
And whether he does or doesn't,
Yeah.
his story shows us that innovation can come from anywhere.
It can. The people who shake things up, they're not always who we expect.
They're the ones who push us forward.
Exactly. So to wrap this part up,
Yeah.
What's the takeaway? Stay curious, stay informed, never stop questioning.
The world's full of mysteries. It's up to us to explore them.
With an open mind and a healthy dose of skepticism.
Well said. Now let's talk about the controversies surrounding Chikumbutsu.
Okay, the elephant in the room.
Yeah, the resistance, the skepticism, the media silence.
It raises some big questions about how we deal with disruptive ideas.
So let's unpack it. What are the main arguments against his claims?
Well, the most common one is that he's breaking the laws of physics.
Like literally.
Yeah, specifically the law of conservation of energy.
Which says?
Energy can't be created or destroyed, only changed from one form to another.
So you can't just pull it out of thin air.
You can't, it has to come from somewhere, and he hasn't really explained that part.
Okay. And then there's the lack of independent testing.
That's a big one. No one else has been able to replicate his results.
So no one can confirm if it actually works.
Right. In science, if you can't replicate it, it raises serious doubts.
So that's a red flag for a lot of people.
It is, and it's something he needs to address if he wants to be taken seriously.
Okay, but what if there's another reason we haven't seen independent verification?
Like what?
What if it's suppression?
That's a possibility we can't ignore.
Right, like we talk about when something threatens big industries.
They often fight back.
So maybe the lack of testing is a mix of things.
Could be genuine skepticism from scientists.
Difficulty replicating it.
And maybe some interference from people who want to keep things as they are.
That's a good point. And what about the media silence?
If this is so groundbreaking, why isn't it bigger news?
Yeah, why?
Well, there are a few possible explanations.
Okay, like what?
Maybe the media is hesitant to cover something that hasn't been verified by scientists.
They don't want to look like they're promoting something that's not real.
Exactly. They have to be careful about what they report.
And then there's the whole narrative thing.
Yeah, the media likes stories that fit a certain mold.
Like the lone genius inventor, but from Zimbabwe.
It's not the usual story.
It challenges our assumptions about where innovation comes from.
It does, so maybe it's just not a story they're comfortable with.
But we can't rule out deliberate suppression either, can we?
Well, we can't. It's possible people are working to keep this quiet.
So how do we know what to believe?
That's the tough question, isn't it?
It is. There's no easy answer.
But we can start by being aware of our own biases.
Oh, that's a good point.
We all have them, whether we realize it or not.
They can make us see things a certain way.
Exactly. So if you're already prone to believe in conspiracies, you might be more likely to think Chikumbutsu's being suppressed.
But if you're skeptical of anything that challenges science...
you might dismiss them right away.
Okay, so step one, recognize our own biases.
Right. And look at the evidence critically.
Don't just rely on one source.
No, get different perspectives, compare them, look for any hidden agendas.
And be willing to change your mind if the evidence leads you there.
That's key. Critical thinking is about being open to new information.
It's about finding the truth wherever it leads.
Exactly. So let's recap the Chikumbutsu controversy.
Okay.
There are good scientific reasons to be skeptical. His claims are unverified. They challenge what we know about physics.
But there's also the possibility of suppression, people trying to keep this quiet.
And the media plays a role, too, how they choose to cover this story or not.
So where does that leave us?
What are your thoughts?
Honestly, I'm still on the fence.
That's fair.
Part of me is really intrigued by his story, the potential of his inventions.
I get that.
But I also know we need to be skeptical. We need more proof.
That's a perfectly reasonable position to take.
That's a lot to take in. And ultimately, it's up to each person to decide what they believe.
Exactly. We're not trying to tell you what to think.
Right.
We're just giving you the information, letting you make up your own mind.
So now let's step back a bit.
Okay.
Big picture time. What are the implications of Chikumbutsu's story? Regardless of whether his inventions actually work.
That's a good question.
What can we learn from this whole thing?
Well, one thing is that innovation comes from unexpected places.
Yeah, we tend to think it's all high-tech labs and universities.
Right, but Chikumbutsu shows us it can be anywhere.
A small workshop, a different country.
Never underestimate human ingenuity.
And another thing, challenging the status quo is hard.
It is, especially when you're going up against powerful forces.
Chikumbutsu's faced a lot of that,
Skepticism, accusations, it hasn't been easy.
but he keeps going.
He does. He believes in his vision.
It takes guts to do that.
It does. You need courage and conviction to keep pushing when everyone doubts you.
So even if his tech doesn't work out,
yeah,
his story is inspiring for anyone who wants to challenge the way things are.
it is a reminder that progress isn't always easy.
It's messy, there are setbacks, you might want to give up.
But if you believe in something, if you put in the work...
Anything is possible.
Exactly. That's a message that goes beyond technology.
It's about life, about following your dreams.
It applies to anything you're passionate about.
So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive,
Yep.
let's remember the power of human ingenuity.
Let's celebrate those who think differently, who push the boundaries.
And the journey matters too.
Absolutely. The struggles, the triumphs, that's where we learn and grow.
Well said. Now let's talk about the ethical side of all this.
Okay, the big questions.
Even if the tech works, we have to think about the consequences.
That's right.
What are the risks and rewards of a world powered by microsonic energy?
That's what we'll explore next.
All right, so we've really dug deep into this story.
We have.
Chikumbutsu's background, his tech, all the controversy around it.
Yeah.
But there's one piece we haven't fully explored yet.
And that is...
the ethics of it all.
Right. That's important, even if everything he says is true.
Exactly. We can't just jump in without thinking about the consequences.
We have to... It's not just about, does it work?
Yeah,
It's also, should we use it?
exactly. And with tech, this potentially disruptive,
Yeah.
there are always ethical considerations.
Big time. We got to think about those before we even talk about using it on a large scale.
So what are some of those ethical questions?
Okay, well, one big one is the impact on existing industries, economies,
Right? If this really is unlimited, free energy,
The whole energy market changes overnight.
it'd be chaos.
Oil companies, gas stations, power plants, battery makers,
All those industries would be disrupted.
their entire business models could vanish.
And that means job losses, economic upheaval.
In the short term, definitely.
It's like the shift from horses to cars.
Yeah, good analogy.
It was progress, but it wasn't easy for everyone.
A lot of people struggled during that transition.
So we got to figure out how to manage that.
We do. How to help people who might be negatively impacted, how to make sure the benefits are shared fairly.
It's not just about the tech, it's about doing it responsibly.
Social responsibility, economic justice, those are key.
And what about accessibility?
Yeah, if this tech is cheap to produce, like he says,
You could bring electricity to places that have never had it.
think about remote villages, developing countries.
People still relying on kerosene lamps.
Imagine bringing them clean, reliable power.
Healthcare, education, everything would change.
It'd be transformative, but we have to be careful. Unintended consequences, cultural disruption, potential environmental damage.
Okay, I see what you mean.
New tech can disrupt traditional ways of life.
We don't want to force change on people.
No, it's about respect, making sure progress doesn't come at the expense of other culture.
Right, and the environment too.
Even if this tech is emission-free when it's running.
We still have to think about how it's made, how it's disposed of.
Yeah, the whole life cycle.
We don't want to create new problems while solving old ones.
Exactly. So a holistic approach is essential.
And then there's the possibility of, well, misuse.
Uh-huh. The dark side of any powerful tech.
Unlimited energy could be weaponized.
It could. You could power weapon systems, disrupt infrastructure.
We got to think about safeguards, regulations.
You do make sure it doesn't fall into the wrong hands.
Okay, so those are some serious ethical concerns.
They are, but we can't just bury our heads in the sand.
So what can we do about it? How do we harness the potential while minimizing the risks?
Well, first, we need to talk about it openly and honestly.
Okay.
Get everyone to the table, scientists, policymakers, ethicists, community leaders.
Work together.
Let's understand the implications, come up with guidelines for using it responsibly.
Make sure everyone understands the risks and benefits.
Exactly. Work together to make sure this tech is used for good.
And listen to those who might be affected by it.
Definitely. Their concerns, their values, those matter.
Everyone deserves a say in shaping the future of technology.
Absolutely. And we have to be humble.
Not pretend we know everything.
Yeah, be open to learning. Be ready to adapt.
Face the unknown with a mix of excitement and caution.
Because we're the ones who decide how tech shapes our future.
We have the power to make it work for everyone.
Well said. So as we wrap up this deep dive
into self-powered vehicles and the story of Maxwell Chikumbutsu,
what have we learned?
what should we take away from all this?
Be curious, be skeptical, Use your critical thinking skills.
Be excited by the possibilities, but consider the consequences.
Don't take anything at face value. Do your research, ask questions, demand evidence.
It's about more than just a science.
It's about social responsibility, ethics, making sure tech serves humanity.
Not the other way around.
Exactly. And remember, the future isn't set in stone.
We build it with every choice we make.
So let's choose wisely. Let's build a future that's innovative and just.
That's a great note to end on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been my pleasure.
We hope you enjoyed this exploration of self-powered vehicles and the ethical challenges of truly groundbreaking innovation.
Until next time, keep those minds open and keep questioning everything.